and a rolling start for Sports Sedans. There's nothing quite like it. The big booming V8s, rotaries and turbos all off the line together.
They launch away down into turn one. It looks like Inwood's going to try to run around the outside of Shields. We'll see what's going to happen with the big Corvette. No, he sits in behind Paul Bosher, in behind that as well in third place. I spoke to Paul before the start of this race and he was hoping that they'd had the setup sorted to be able to throw something at those leading cars. It looks like he might be able to do that as turn two under yellow flags for the start of this one. Nick Smith's car there. Oh, we've had a spinner. That's the
Kelleher, Barry Kelleher's had a spin at turn two. Under yellows, unfortunately. But I'll tell you who did make a good start was Duggan down the outside from the back of the grid. He steamrolled his way through to a fairly prominent position. I think he's up to about fifth. Back of the grid, Kelleher hasn't managed to get going. Beauchette trying to make a move on Inwood between turns 5 and 6. Not quite close enough. Chev Power versus Dodge Power, and it looks like the Dodge Power has a bit more out of the corner. And it gets himself up a place. We've gone safety car. So did he get that move done before the flags came out? I think he has actually. So Paul Beauchette will move into second. Now this is an interesting scenario, Dan, because he will be right behind Shields at the restart of this.
It'll be the little red car against the big red car. Turbo rotary versus the big V8.
The Dodge 6-litre.
As big as he can shoehorn into the front of that. I think Paul Beauchette would put a bigger V8 at the front of it if he could.
If you're allowed to. Yeah. I think they have a 6-litre limit for Sports Sedans. Invited can go a little bit higher. Certainly though, Brad Shields with this rejiggered Fiat did have a 20B in it. It's now got a 13B turbo unit in it. So, okay, safety car lights are out and it's scarping out of there pretty quick. You don't want to be in the way of these guys when they get moving. And it'll be up to Brad Shields to control the restart of this one.
Just noticed, Gary, as well, Duggan is up into 5th place already in this race with only about half a lap of running. So he made a good start to this event and will be looking to try to get himself in front of Inwood, you suspect. They go fanning out across the road. He's going to have to be careful, though. He's passed before the control line. The Gessler car, so that might be an issue for Duggan. As look at Bosher right up under the rear wing of Shields. He's going to show the nose down into turn 2. You can guarantee that. And sure enough, he does. Late under brakes. Who can get it pulled up? Brad Shields keeps the lead by less than half a car length. Paul Bosher has the hammer down. He's trying to do all he can to just stay right there with him and see if he can make this move.
I expected the Shields would be quicker over the back, so Beauchette will try his best to stay in touch wherever he can and maybe get a better run down the straight the next time around. Of course, they couldn't really get going until halfway down the straight, and already you can see Shields starting to edge away in the part of the track that really suits the Fiat.
Duggan all up under the back of Cameron as well as they come through the back section of the circuit. The Commodore of Cameron, though, Duggan's run very, very wide in turn 6, and that'll make his job a little bit harder as he comes around Corporate Hill. He's lost about 3 car lengths to the green Commodore, sitting in 4th place in the race. Inwood floating in 3rd on his own, and then further back we got Gessler, Glenn Crow, and the GTR in front having a battle there as well.
That's Harwood in 32. So we come up to the top of the track with our race leaders. This is where the action is. Can he do something about getting past? Well, the live stream, we're watching some of the action happening down further down the track. We're keeping an eye at the front, and we'll give you a K's through the speed trap. 243 for the Fiat, 257 for Beauchette in the Corvette. So a little bit quicker in a straight line, but he just doesn't get close enough to be able to do anything about it at this point.
Because Brad Shields can pull that little Fiat up on a dime down into turn 2, and that helps him maintain the lead. And of course, the handling he's got through the back of the circuit. Joe Sett has put in so much work into that car over many, many years, and they're reaping the benefits now with this new setup.
It's taken a while, and they finally got there. And now you can see as well that he's eked out a bit of a gap, Shields has, over Beauchette. it's about 8/10 of a second. I think it might be a little bit more by the time they get to the end of the second sector. And Cameron up to third. Now, where's Inwood got to? I think we might have lost Inwood out of this. They were reporting that after yesterday's race, a vibration. I wonder if that's transpired into something a bit more of a problem. No, he's still there, so it's a transponder issue, which has nothing to do with mechanical from the car. It's just a pain for us because they just happen, and for some reason it doesn't register on the timing for quite a while.
Here's Duggan to the inside of Cameron into the back complex, turns 11 and 12. So Duggan now up into 4th place in the race. He's been able to overhaul the Commodore. We have Shields first, Bouchard second across the line, Inwood in 3rd place, then Duggan is a couple of seconds behind as the wind continues to gust at these guys down the main straight. It's a direct headwind down into their faces at the moment, so that'll be changing how they enter turn 1. They'll all need to be aware of that as they make the shoot through to turn 2.
Yeah, the speed difference between Duggan and Cameron was around about 9 kilometres an hour on that lap. So definitely the Aston a little bit pokier in the straight line than the Commodore. Commodore hasn't done a lot of miles. It's been gathering dust in a workshop for many years, and they decided to get it out and rebuild it. It's based on a VS Commodore.
Here we go, our leaders have come together as they come around the back of Corporate Hill. Bouchard looks to the inside, so Brad Shields has lost a lot of ground in half a lap here, and Bouchard gets to the inside at turn 6.
He's got
Shields
a problem.
Very slow out of 6.
He's got an issue, unfortunately, for Brad Shields, and he's basically surrendered the lead to Paul Bouchard. Good way for the Canberrian to come back to Sports Sedans is to get a win up.
I tell you what, it's going to mix up the championship this year as we head to round
Great.
3 next month. As they're all over the shop now, especially with Birrell Chetton and Steve Lacey both not competing in this one.
Second round
to their cars.
Second round of this series will be down at Wakefield Park in May. Then we're back here for a couple more rounds. One of them with the National Championship. That's in September at the Master Blast. And then we go to Wakefield Park in September and back here in November.
So Brad Shields lost a position there, but he doesn't look like he's lacking for straight line pace too much. 252 for Bouchard, 244 for Shields. So he's a little bit down, but not massively. So obviously he's just having some sort of drama with getting drive in that car around the back of the circuit, or he had an intermittent issue that they've had last year with the electricals in the dash. It looks like it's reared its head again as he exits 2 and comes over the crest from 3.
Out of the corners.
Been able to go past, so
Inwood up to second position. So at the moment, Inwood would be in front in the round, the opening round for Kumho Tyres Sports Sedans this year.
I suspect that maybe he's got some sort of fuel pickup issue then when he goes around the tight left.
Well, they didn't know what the drama was down at the last meeting they ran, which was last year. When it did happen, it just died. It just stopped. They got it back to pits and it fired up straight away. So that's the worst sort of scenario that you could possibly imagine.
No doubt they'll crawl all the way under the car and try to figure out what they can do to be able to make it work in this final race coming up this afternoon. He's slow again out of the hairpin. So it is an intermittent issue. He's probably going to try to run it to the line because there's decent gaps through the field for these top runners to be able to bring it home. I suspect he'll lose a position to Scott Cameron towards the end of this race, but then after that he's got a fairly significant gap back to Harwood, Pro and Spiteri, who are still having a decent enough battle that ebbs and flows around the circuit. Spiteri trying to get on the back of Glen Pro.
Yeah, Shields again in the 43s, so he really won't want to lose more spots. Duggan and Cameron, 2 cars that are looming there. Then we've got Harwood, Pro, Spiteri, John Spiteri that is, Graham Smith, David Aiken, Josh Pillars, sprint guys are back towards the back. They didn't hit him with any sort of penalty for overlapping on that restart. He went past Duggan before the start, but I think he surrendered it fairly quickly anyway. And Barry Kelleher has managed to get going and looks like only lost a lap, so he'll still score points. Barry, of course, not in his younger years, but a formidable record of sprint cars, motorcycle racing in the past. Been there, done that.
As we see Smith Cameron closing the battle, closing the gap to Duggan ever so slightly throughout the course of the last 2 laps. So I'd say Duggan's just looking to bring the car home at this point.
You wouldn't want to ventilate a second motor, would you, for
No.
one weekend? It's an expensive exercise. But if he gets it back to the line, it certainly looks good in it's all red now.
It does, doesn't it? Very, very well presented cars throughout the field in sports.
Well, we looked at it before yesterday's race and thought, wow, this is everyone's cleaned up their cars, ready for a new season, and said to Steve Lacey, he said, looks good with a brand new yellow livery, same colours, but looks brand new. He said, unfortunately, they got engine drama, so they weren't going to go anywhere. Still, it's Bochette from Inwood, 3.5 seconds between them. Shields in third holding station at the moment. Actually did a lap that matches what they're doing up the front, so back down to the 37s. So it's obviously in a minute. Cameron right on the back of Duggan now. And on their last laps, Duggan did a 39, Cameron a 38, so we predicted it. They're on their last lap, so maybe he's just trying to bring it home in that position. Keep you quiet has been the hard part.
He's only got about 4 corners left to go as we see this battle continuing with Duggan holding off Cameron. I think he should be able to do that as well. Cameron, though, he's made a mockery of what I've said as he's closed the gap down into turn 6. So we'll keep a track on that one as Bochette comes around Corporate Hill to run down to the back straight. We've got Duggan and Cameron into the hairpin just in front of us, and they are still line astern, so no overtake there.
Out of the last corner, checkered flag at the ready. Red is best this day anyway, with Paul Bochette, who will take the win in the Dodge-powered Chev Corvette ahead of the Chev-powered Chev Corvette and the Mazda-powered Fiat of Shields in first spot. Your outright is Bochette, Inwood, Shields. Duggan does hold on for 4th ahead of Cameron. Then it should be Pro next in the 6th position.
He's just going to hold off, as we see them on screen, just going to hold off Harwood behind, who closed the gap up in the last couple of laps, but wasn't able to throw anything at him in the Nissan GTR.
So these are our division winners. Pro ahead of Harwood. Spiteri should be the next one down the line. Probably the hardest working car here this weekend. It does so many Ks. And he gets it to the line in 8th position because Trevor Spiteri runs that in improved production as well. Then it's guys to the line. Gravesmith will lead home Division 3 in his Commodore. And Barry Kelleher will round out the field. We're going to take a quick break and then we're back with Formula Race cars.